What's up, guys? Justin Brock here. I'm a Marine veteran turned 8-figure exit entrepreneur in the life and health Medicare industry. In this time, I think I've boiled down 2 steps to business. 1, you have to find profitability in the interim so that you can feed your family and begin to scale. 2, you have to immediately stop thinking of the service that you're providing or the fulfillment of the product that you're providing as the primary objective of the business and start developing a brand. A brand will always beat a commodity. Brands over time always outperform commodities when those brands are built big enough. Warren Buffett said, I was just listening to it, Warren Buffett said it takes 20 years to build a reputation or a brand and 5 minutes to ruin it. So it makes you think a lot better about how you begin to build those brands, how you associate your product and your service with certain things over time. So I really want to get this across to you. 2 steps. 1, find profitability. 2, build a brand and a long-term reputation that begins to outperform, where you're not having to think about things the way that a typical surface level entrepreneur does. It gets talked about a lot in the space that we're in by some big names that have built great businesses and exited and made money, thinking about cost per acquisition, ROAS, return on ad spend, all these different acronyms where you're saying, it costs me this much to acquire a client, this is my lifetime value, and that is my profit. Unfortunately, if you get so fixated on that you never graduate to building a long-term brand, you're always going to be chasing your tail, chasing a lower CPA than the LTV that you can get and trying to widen that gap as much as possible. And it's not that we don't want to widen that gap later on, but my lifetime value of a client can go up if my brand is high, as well as my cost per acquisition can basically plummet to almost nothing when you take out fixed cost variables. So step 1, find profitability. Now, if you're trying to attack a business and become the Apple of Medicare insurance or the Apple of property and casualty insurance or the Apple of the local real estate market for yourself, you're always going to fail at that. So in the beginning, it truly is get a lead with a quality enough quality that I can convert it to more money than it costs me to get it. That is step 1 verbatim, and then repeat that as often as possible as you grow, while simultaneously working on step 2, building and becoming that Apple of whatever you do. And when I say Apple, I'm just comparing to probably one of the biggest, brands out there. Brands like Apple don't have to worry about their acquisition cost. The next time they release a product, they know they're going to get to charge premium dollars for it. Wouldn't you like to be, let's say you're a life and health insurance agent, wouldn't you like to be the type of agent that people would line up and pay you and let you get commissions for your product? Now, don't get into the compliance of that. I'm not talking about actually doing it, but the willingness of a customer to pay you and sign up for products where you get commission and to pay you more than they would pay anyone because they want your help. There are people in the marketplace, in the Medicare world, in the individual health world, that have that type of setting. They have it. Maybe that audience is small, maybe it's big. Now, how can you bridge the gap between a profitable business? Unfortunately, I get so many people that can't even get step 1 right. Acquire the business at scale, cheaper for less money than that you actually make off of the average relationship. So that's step 1. But if you got to that and you're thinking, how am I going to bridge this gap from the profitability on the forefront to getting off the ground to having a brand that continues to feed me even after I reduce all my ad spend to nothing? The answer is start getting associated with the right people and the right brands and begin to grow through that. You can grow through in the beginning as inexpensively in a local market as being associated and creating referral relationships with groups that have their own little core synergies. You probably know somebody right now that has a bigger network than you. They have a micro center of influence. You might know somebody that's even bigger that has a larger center of influence. So step 1 in that branding growth is to go out and find those people and collaborate with them and try to get some attention in their audience. Now, you can't just go up to them and say, I want to hijack your audience for my own pleasure. You need to figure out a way that it makes sense, whether that's paying them, whether it's collaborative efforts that help their business, or whether it's just having a friend that introduces you that gets them to want to help you out. Some way you need to find that, bridge that gap between you and them that adds value to them so that they will let you get in front of their audience. And then continue to scale that and rinse and repeat and scale that side where you're getting in front of bigger and bigger audiences and getting to take that brand equity or that trust factor in their brand or their center of influence or their business and be able to leverage that to grow and compound faster and faster. That's what these big groups do. This is how paid endorsements work. When they pay athletes or they pay celebrities to endorse products, that's how you're hijacking that brand equity, that association, and having product association. Right now, there are these mugs that girls buy. They're Stanley cups. They're expensive as all get out. But for some reason, out of the blue, everybody wants these Stanley cups. They don't want the cheap knockoffs. They want the one with the Stanley. I see people in their office have an $80 to $100 Stanley cup on their desk, knowing that that girl makes $38,000 a year. She got a $100 cup. It's something about that product. Jordans, a perfect example. People will line up around the block to get those Jordans because of the association with Michael Jordan and the compounding effect of just having that Jordan, the appeal of it. The brand is so powerful that as soon as they release them, they're going to sell out of different groups, and then they'll re-release. Rolex, I wear watches that go up in value because they're controlling how many they put out there. They're controlling the access, and the association of that product is high class. But you can do this with a service. If you have a service, you can make yourself, your service, or what you do appear to be higher value, higher class, more quality, better information, better support on the backside. And when you have that type of appeal, you start to attract the highest quality portion of the audience, and you get it through the word of mouth is crazy. You're not even having to pump the money into advertising the way that you did before to create those metrics we were talking about in step one. So to me, that's really, trying to dial down how business works in 2 steps. Step 1, hit profitability by knowing what is my average LTV in this client space, how much is it going to cost me to acquire a client. If I have a gap there, that's great. I'm profitable in that aspect. In certain industries, sometimes the amount of time it takes to get that profit back requires you to float things. In the building space, people will build by using borrowed money for that amount of time. But for some reason in finance, insurance, real estate, nobody wants to borrow money. They want to be profitable the very first day. Unfortunately, it's not always works that way unless you already have some sort of big center of influence. So step 1, find profitability. Step 2, increase your brand awareness by going out and getting associated with the right things, the right products. If it's service, it's trust. You want to be associated with trust. If somebody else has the trust of your target audience, go out and get associated with that person so that you can hijack, for lack of a better term, the trust that they have and then bring it over. And then also in each individual client that you help, if you do a great job, you're going to build trust in each one of those people. So everything you do and every interaction you have is technically tied to the brand, but there are certainly ways to amplify that effect by getting in front of bigger and bigger and bigger centers of influence in your market share. So that's what I got today. Thank you so much for watching. Brand is everything. Talk to you guys soon.